everyone. Welcome to another episode of Tagalog Time with Pat. Today, we will be learning how to ask questions in Tagalog. And someone asked me if they could get a copy of these slides, maybe like a PDF form, so that you can print them out and then write on them when you are studying. I have uploaded them onto my Stand store, so you are able to download them if you would like. The link to that is in the description. So let's go ahead and get started. Here is today's agenda. Today we will be learning the different Tagalog question words. Then we will be learning how to use them to make a question formation. We will also be practicing some Tagalog responses and learning some common questions and then doing a lot of practice questions as well. So go ahead and grab a piece of paper and something to write with so that we can get started. So here are some Tagalog question words. There are a lot, and then we're going to be talking about them and then some variations as well. So let's just go through them. They don't have the translation just yet, but as we go through them, the translation will pop up as well. So ano, bakit, saan, kailan, sino, kanino, paano, ilan, alin, and ba. So these are all of the question words that we're going to be talking about today. The very first question word that we're going to learn is ano. So that means what? Ano. If you have ever heard a native Tagalog speaker, they might sometimes say ano as a filler in their conversation. Like if they can't think of the word, they say yung ano, yung ano. So it's like sometimes it can mean or the thing, but technically it means what. So here are the different ways to use ano in a question. So ano, then the word ang, then a noun. So for example, ano ang pangalan mo? What is your name? Ano ang pangalan mo? And I underlined pangalan because that's the noun. Your response could be, ang pangalan ko ay Pat. That literally means my name is Pat. But you might also hear someone say, Pat ang pangalan ko. Pat ang pangalan ko. That also means my name is Pat. Or you might just hear someone say, ako si Pat. Ako si Pat. I am Pat. So all of those are the different ways to respond. I will say the most common response in casual conversation is, ako si Pat. So ano ang pangalan mo? Ako si Pat. After that, the most common response would probably be, Pat ang pangalan ko. Pat ang pangalan ko. Ang pangalan ko ay Pat is a little bit formal. It's not very natural. It's kind of what you would read, like if something is written out. That is like the grammatically correct way to say, my name is Pat. But those are different ways to respond, and they're all correct. Another example, ano ang trabaho niya? Trabaho means job. So ano ang trabaho niya? What is her job? His or her. Niya is a gender-neutral pronoun. So you have to listen to the context of the conversation to determine who someone is talking about. So ano ang trabaho niya? And the responses could be, ang trabaho niya ay nurse. Ang trabaho niya ay nurse. Or it could be, nurse ang trabaho niya. Nurse ang trabaho niya. Or nurse siya. Nurse siya. I will say nurse siya is a little bit more like grammatically correct because it's like a person. You're not really, I don't know, it just kind of doesn't sound as correct when you say, ang trabaho niya ay nurse. It's almost, I guess it does work. It does work. Don't listen to me. But yeah, so these are the different ways to say this. Again, ang trabaho niya ay nurse is a little bit more on the formal side. Not a lot of people say it like that. It's more common for someone to say, nurse siya. She is a nurse. Which I am. Surprise, surprise, right? A lot of Filipinos are nurses. Here's another example. Ano ang blank sa Tagalog? That means, what is blank in Tagalog? What is blank in Tagalog? This is a good question to know while you are learning Tagalog vocabulary. If you see something and you want to be like, oh, what is this in Tagalog? You can say, ano ang blank sa Tagalog? For example, ano ang dog sa Tagalog? The answer would be, dog sa Tagalog ay aso. Dog sa Tagalog ay aso. Or, aso ang dog sa Tagalog. Aso ang dog sa Tagalog. So these both mean dog in Tagalog is aso. So you might be wondering, why are there so many different ways to respond? And I think it's just, a lot of languages have that. It's like you can move around some of the words, change up the grammar a little bit, and it means the same thing, but there are certain phrases or certain ways that things are more used in common conversation. In this case, I think aso ang dog sa Tagalog, or actually dog sa Tagalog ay aso. I think aso ang dog sa Tagalog is a little bit more casual. Okay. Next, ano ang verb? So this is another way to use ano. So ano ang kinakain mo? Ano ang kinakain mo? That means, what are you eating? Kinakain is the present tense form of to eat. So what are you eating? Ang kinakain ko ay adobo. Ang kinakain ko ay adobo. I'm eating adobo. Or adobo ang kinakain ko. Or kumakain ako ng adobo. So those all mean I am eating adobo. The more commonly used way to say it would be kumakain ako ng adobo. I'm eating adobo. Usually the last example that I give is the one that's more natural, like less formal and used in common conversation. Another example, ano ang sinabi niya? Sinabi means to have said. Like, what did he say? Ano ang sinabi niya? Responses could be, ang sinabi niya ay hindi. He said no. Ang sinabi niya ay hindi. Or, hindi ang sinabi niya. Or, sinabi niya hindi. Those are the different ways to say, he said no. Again, I would hear sinabi niya hindi, or hindi ang sinabi niya. Just a note about sinabi, you might hear someone say, sabi niya hindi. Sabi niya hindi. Technically, the past tense conjugation of sabi is sinabi, but people shortcut it and say sabi niya hindi. So if you hear that, that's what it means. Next, ano ang ginagawa mo? What are you doing? Ano ang ginagawa mo? And some responses, gumagawa ako ng cake. I am making a cake. And I'm going to explain this in a minute. Nanonood ako ng TV. I am watching TV. So why did I respond this way to this question? Gawa means to make or to do. So if someone asked you, ano ang ginagawa mo? They could be asking, what are you doing? And I responded, nanonood ako ng TV. I'm watching TV. Or if someone asks, ano ang ginagawa mo? That could also mean, what are you making? So I responded, gumagawa ako ng cake. I'm making a cake. So that's just the different ways gawa can be used. And then just another little note here, you'll see in the blue, verbs can be in any tense. So when you are using ano with a verb, it could be asking about what someone did in the past, what someone is doing currently, or what someone will be doing tomorrow or in the future. So verbs can be in any tense. And if you need a review of the different ways to conjugate verbs in Tagalog, go ahead and watch my previous videos. I have a video just for present tense conjugation, and then the video after that is for past and future tense. Once you get the patterns down, it's just a matter of learning new vocabulary and trying to remember the different ways they're conjugated. Okay, so here are the different uses for ano. So, ano na means what's up. Na is an emphasis word, or sometimes it means already. And in this case, it's kind of lost in translation. It's just an expression meaning, hey, what's up? For example, if someone was taking a long time to get ready and I'm like, hey, ano na, we're going to be late, ano na. So it's like, hey, what's up? Or if you haven't seen someone in a very long time, you're like, oh, ano na, hey, what's up? So that's just a different way to use ano na. Next, ano ba means what the heck. And ba is a question word, and we'll learn how to use that later at the very end of the lesson. But in this case, again, it's lost in translation, but it means like, what the heck? So for example, if someone bumped into you and they didn't say sorry, you can say, ano ba? Ano ba? What the heck? Or if someone is just joking with you, you can say, ano ba? Okay, so it's an expression meaning what the heck. Next, ano daw? That means what did they say? So daw means like you're referring to someone else after they've said something. So ano daw? What did they say? Ano daw? Next, ano ito? What is this? And then ano iyan? What is that? So that's just the different ways to use the demonstrative pronoun this and that. Ano ito? Ano yan? What is this? What is that? And then there's another demonstrative pronoun. Ano yun? Ano iyon? So what is that over there? So what is this? What is that? What is that over there? So it's like a little bit farther. That's the difference there. And then anong problema? What's the problem? Anong problema? So the NG at the end there is like ano ang problema, and you can put it together and it would be anong. So anong pangalan mo? That also works. Instead of ano ang pangalan mo, you can put it together, anong pangalan mo? And you will see this happen to a lot of the question words that we'll be learning. Anytime the previous word ends in a vowel, you can usually make this contraction or like putting the words together. You'll see that. Now let's just practice using ano. So on the left side, let me turn off my screen. So sorry. So on the left side here, you will see the rules that we just learned. So ano ang plus a noun. The example was, ano ang pangalan mo? Ang pangalan ko ay Pat. Or Pat ang pangalan ko, or ako si Pat. Again, remember, ako si Pat is the more casual way to respond. And then the next example we learned was ano ang plus a verb. So ano ang kinakain mo? What are you eating? And then those are the responses. Kumakain ako ng adobo. Now what I want you to do is to translate these examples. So they're in Tagalog. I want you to translate them to English. So number 1, what are you cooking? And then I gave you a vocab hint. Niluluto means cooking. Number 2, what is his girlfriend's name? Nobya means girlfriend. Number 3, what is cat in Tagalog? 4, what did Mark and John eat yesterday? Kinain means ate. Number 5, what are you watching? Pinapanood means watching. So let's do number 1 together. What are you cooking? Ano ang, and then the verb, right? So we're just following this sentence structure number 2. Ano ang niluluto mo? Ano ang niluluto mo? What are you cooking? And then a response could be, nagluluto ako ng pansit. Nagluluto ako ng pansit. So this kind of brings in all of the different conjugations that we had learned in the previous lessons. So try to remember how to conjugate them. And I'm just thinking here, I guess it can be a little bit confusing because in the question, it's conjugated as niluluto. And that wasn't really one of the conjugation patterns that we had learned. But nagluluto is a nag verb. So I will say there are some variations in the conjugations and you might not recognize them, but just try your best and then we'll go over it, okay? And then just follow this pattern when you're making your response as well. Take a look at the examples I did and then see if you can make the examples. And you can fill in the example with any answer that you want. So go ahead, pause the video now, and then you can come back and we will go over these questions. Okay, welcome back. Let's do number 2. What is his girlfriend's name? Nobya is girlfriend. Ano ang pangalan ng nobya niya? So we learned ano ang pangalan mo. Now if you want to talk about someone else, you would have to add ng nobya niya. Nang means of. So nobya is girlfriend, niya is his. So what is the name of his girlfriend? You see how everything just kind of fits together, but it might not be in the order that we're used to in English. So just take note of this. It would be, ano ang pangalan ng nobya niya? That's how you would say that. Response, Sara ang pangalan niya. Sara ang pangalan niya, or siya si Sara. Siya si Sara. Something like that, okay? Number 3, what is cat in Tagalog? Ano ang pusa? Oh gosh, I just told you. Ano ang cat sa Tagalog? Pusa ang cat sa Tagalog. Pusa ang cat sa Tagalog. Next, what did Mark and John eat yesterday? Ano ang kinain nila Mark at John kahapon? Ano ang kinain nila Mark at John kahapon? I want to show you this word nila. This is like a sentence marker that is used to indicate people. So it's like their ownership. When it's multiple people, Mark and John, it's nila. When it's just one person, it's ni. So for example, if it was just Mark, ano ang kinain ni Mark kahapon? Ano ang kinain ni Mark kahapon? It's just one person. But when it's multiple people, you have to use nila. Ano ang kinain nila Mark at John kahapon? Response, kumain sila ng lechon kahapon. Kumain sila ng lechon kahapon. So, sila is the pronoun here. And that's a subject pronoun. So, kumain sila ng lechon kahapon. Using subject pronouns can be tricky. And I don't expect you to know these pronouns or these conjugations right off the bat. But hopefully you can recognize them. And then from these examples, use them this way in the future. Okay, so don't get too worried if you're not getting the questions right. Just use this as a way to learn them. Okay? Number 5, what are you watching? Ano ang pinapanood mo? Ano ang pinapanood mo? The response, pinapanood ko yung bagong pelikula. I'm watching a new movie. Pinapanood ko yung bagong pelikula. Or pinapanood ko yung TV. Something like that. You might also hear someone say, nanonood ako ng TV. So we learned in the previous lessons, nanonood or manood means to watch. But this one is pinapanood, and it's focusing more on the object. So the movie or the show. Pinapanood. Okay. Next question word is bakit. Why? Bakit. And here is one way to use it. Bakit plus an adjective plus the word ang and then a noun. So for example, bakit madumi ang kotse? Bakit madumi ang kotse? Why is the car dirty? And then the response, madumi ang kotse kasi maputik sa labas. Madumi ang kotse kasi maputik sa labas. So the car is dirty because it's muddy outside. Maputik means muddy, labas means outside. Okay, and then another example is, bakit mainit ang cellphone ko? Why is my cell phone hot? Bakit, mainit is an adjective meaning hot, ang cellphone ko. And then a response, mainit ang cellphone ko dahil masyado kong ginagamit. My cell phone is hot because I'm using it too much. So hopefully you can see here the pattern that we are following. Bakit goes first, and then it's the adjective, and then it's the word ang, and then it's the noun. Or you could also do bakit plus a pronoun and then a verb. So bakit ka umiiyak? Why are you crying? Bakit ka umiiyak? Some responses, umiiyak ako kasi nawawala yung aso ko. I'm crying because my dog is lost. Umiiyak ako kasi nawawala yung aso ko. Nawawala means lost or missing. Another example, bakit mo ginawa iyon? Why did you do that? Bakit mo ginawa iyon? Ginawa ko yun dahil mahal kita. I did that because I love you. Ginawa ko yun dahil mahal kita. You might hear me saying yun, as if there's no I, and that's commonly how it's pronounced. You might hear people say, ginawa ko iyon dahil mahal kita, but usually the letter I sound is dropped. And then another way to use bakit plus a verb. Bakit umiiyak si Michelle? So bakit plus a verb, bakit umiiyak si Michelle? Why is Michelle crying? Umiiyak si Michelle kasi nakakalungkot yung palabas. Michelle is crying because the show is sad. Nakakalungkot means it's like feeling sad, makes someone feel sad. Yung palabas, the show. So those are the different ways bakit can be used. And again, verbs can be in any tense like we saw in ano. I want to point out the different responses that you can say when you're using bakit questions. So because can be kasi or dahil or sapagkat. Sapagkat. Okay, so kasi is informal. It is most commonly used. You'll hear it a lot in common conversation. Kasi. Dahil is also used a lot. We saw it in the examples, but it's a little bit more formal, but it can also be used casually. And then sapagkat is very formal. It's rarely used. It's almost like Shakespearean. You'll see it in like writing, or someone might use it maybe to prove a point or something, but it's not used a lot. It's almost like a deep Tagalog, really. So here are those examples again, and you'll see the kasi and dahil. So umiiyak ako kasi nawawala yung aso ko. I am crying because my dog is lost. So there's kasi. And then ginawa ko yun dahil mahal kita. I did that because I love you. So there's the kasi and there's the dahil. And they are used interchangeably, but kasi is more casual, dahil is a little bit more formal, but can also be used casually. Okay? Now, here are the different ways bakit can be used, and it doesn't really have a direct translation. So you might hear, bakit ganito? Bakit ganito? Ganito means like this. So why like this? Or why is this happening? So for example, it's like, oh no, I got a flat tire. I ran out of gas and I'm late for work. Oh, bakit ganito? Why is it happening? Why is it like this? And then bakit ba? Again, there's that ba question word. When it's added to bakit, it's why with emphasis. So maybe someone is annoying you. They're like, hey Pat, hey Pat. And you're like, oh, bakit ba? Why? What do you need? Bakit ba? And then bakit na naman? Na naman means like, it's a sign of emphasis, or it means like again. Again. So why again? So again, maybe someone is pestering you. They're like, hey Pat. You're like, bakit na naman? What now? And then, bakit daw? So daw again is like, what did they say? So it's like, why did they say? So it's like, oh, we can't go in yet. And you're like, oh, bakit daw? Why? Why not? What did they say? So those are the different ways bakit can be used. And just a Taglish tip, I am a big supporter of using Tagalog and English together, Taglish, especially while you are learning Tagalog. So here's one way to do that. Maybe use kasi and then finish your English answer. For example, why are you sad? Kasi I stayed up late why are you tired? And it would be kasi I stayed up late to finish a movie. So instead of saying because, say kasi. And then the more vocabulary you learn, you'll eventually be able to say the whole phrase in Tagalog. Why are you tired? Kasi natulog ako ng late dahil nanonood ako ng movie. Okay, so just insert Tagalog words here and there And then before you know it, you'll be able to say longer phrases in Tagalog. Now I want us to practice bakit. Here on the left side, again, are the different ways to use bakit. So bakit plus an adjective, then ang, then a noun. Bakit madumi ang kotse? Why is the car dirty? Or bakit plus the pronoun plus a verb. Bakit ka umiiyak? Or bakit plus a verb. Bakit umiiyak si Michelle? Why is Michelle crying? Okay, so those are the different sentence structures when using bakit. And just a tip, when you're making a response, you can use kasi or dahil. Remember, that means because. Here are the questions that I want us to translate. So why are you sad? Malungkot, to be sad. Let's do this one together. Why are you sad? It would be bakit. Then it's the pronoun ka. And then it's the adjective malungkot. Bakit ka malungkot? So that kind of falls under the rule number 2. Bakit plus a pronoun. Instead of a verb, it can be an adjective. Okay, so bakit ka malungkot? Your response, malungkot ako kasi ... I am sad because, malungkot ako kasi namimiss ko ang tatay ko. I'm sad because I miss my dad. Okay, so you can fill in the rest of your response with whatever you want, but hopefully it starts with this same format. So, malungkot ako kasi ... So take a minute, pause the video now, and then we will go back and answer these questions together. Okay, welcome back. Let's start with number 2. Why is Bea laughing? Tumatawa is laughing. So, bakit tumatawa si Bea? Bakit tumatawa? So, there's the bakit, there's the verb. Si Bea. So, it's referring to Bea. Bakit tumatawa si Bea? Tumatawa si Bea dahil Bea is laughing because nanonood siya ng comedy, because she's watching a comedy. Next, why is Sam's car broken? Kotse is car, sira is broken. Bakit sira ang kotse ni Sam? So this one kind of falls under the rule number 1, bakit, and then adjective, and then ang, and then the noun, kotse. And then ni Sam just indicates the ownership of Sam. So, bakit sira ang kotse ni Sam? Response could be, sira ang kotse ni Sam kasi luma na siya, because it's old. Sira ang kotse ni Sam kasi luma na siya. Next, why are the kids fighting? Mga bata is kids, nag-aaway is fighting. Bakit nag-aaway ang mga bata? So there's bakit and then there's a verb. So there's rule number 3. Bakit plus a verb. Bakit nag-aaway ang mga bata? Why are the kids fighting? The response, nag-aaway sila dahil magkaiba ang gusto nilang laruin. They want to play with different things. So a couple things I want to point out. Nag-aaway sila. So instead of repeating mga bata, I just said sila, they. And you can do that. Or you could have said, nag-aaway ang mga bata dahil, like you can repeat it again. Or you can use a pronoun like I did. Nag-aaway sila dahil. And remember, you could have said kasi. So it's interchangeable. You'll see in my answer, sometimes I use kasi, sometimes I use dahil. Magkaiba means different. Ang means is. Gusto is to like. Nilang laruin. They are playing. They want to play with different things. Number 5, why is the house messy? Bahay is house. Magulo is messy. Bakit magulo ang bahay? So this one is just directly following rule number 1. Bakit, then an adjective, then ang, then a noun. Bakit magulo ang bahay? Response, magulo ang bahay kasi the house is messy because nagparty kami kagabi. We had a party yesterday. So if you can recognize the different patterns that were used here, that's kind of where it comes from, these questions. And you can add things afterwards to make it specific, like, is it belonging to someone? Are we talking about a place or something like that? So follow these rules on the left side, and then if you have to, add more information at the end. And then when you're making a response, that is where you choose kasi or dahil, and then bring in part of the question into your response as well. If you have any questions about anything we're learning, please feel free to write it in the comments and I will try to respond. The next question we are going to learn is saan. Saan means where. So saan plus a verb. That's an example of how to use this. Saan matutulog si Bobby? Saan matutulog si Bobby? Where is Bobby going to sleep? A response is matutulog si Bobby sa sala. Bobby is going to sleep in the living room. Matutulog si Bobby sa sala. Now, you might also hear saan plus a pronoun plus a verb. For example, saan ka pupunta? Where are you going? Saan ka pupunta? That should have saan. It just says sa there. Sorry about that. So then the response, pupunta ako sa tindahan. I am going to the store. Pupunta ako sa tindahan. So that's the difference there. If you are talking about someone specific, you would add si and then their name. Saan matutulog si Bobby? Or if you just want to use a pronoun, the pronoun would go right after the question word. Saan ka pupunta? Okay, so those are the different ways to use it. I do want to point out that your response has this word sa. Sa. When the question is saan, the response is sa. Sa is a preposition and it means at a place, but it can mean to or from or something like that. So sa has a lot of different translations depending on the context. In this case, it means at a place or to, okay? Next, there's this question word, nasaan. So it's similar to saan, but it's nasaan. And here are the different ways to use it. Nasaan plus ang plus a noun. For example, nasaan ang CR? CR is comfort room in Tagalog, or in the Philippines, that's what they refer to the bathroom as. Where is the bathroom? Nasaan ang CR? The response, nasa labas ang CR. The bathroom is outside. Nasa labas ang CR. Or you could ask about a person. Nasaan si a person? Nasaan si nanay? Where is mother? Nasaan si nanay? The response, nasa trabaho si nanay. Mother is at work. Nasa trabaho si nanay. Now I want to point out that the responses all start with nasa. Okay, so when the question is nasaan, now your response has to have nasa. So that was a difference that's here. So when it's saan, the response has sa. When it's nasaan, the response has nasa. So just to go over it, when do you use saan? When do you use nasaan? Saan napunta ang cellphone ko? Where did my cell phone go? Versus nasaan ang cellphone ko? Where is my cell phone? Saan always goes with a verb. When you're asking about a verb or something that has happened with like an action, then you use saan. Saan napunta? Saan napunta? The root word of punta means to go. So napunta means went. Where did my cell phone go? Saan napunta? There's the verb. And then the response is sa. Oh, sa kotse. And then nasaan ang cellphone ko? Nasaan plus the word ang plus a noun. So when you're asking about the location of something, then it's nasaan. So it's like nasaan noun, nasaan noun. Anytime there's like the ends, try to remember that. So your response has nasa. Nasaan ang cellphone ko? Nasa bag ko. It's in my bag. Okay? So this is just to look at it again. These are the examples we just saw. You might hear someone say asan or saan when they're referring to nasaan. So that's just like a short way to say it. So instead of saying nasaan ang CR, someone might ask asan ang CR? Where is the bathroom? Or they might even just say saan ang CR, even though technically it should be nasaan. So people shorten it, but technically, just so you know, it should be nasaan. Okay? Now let's take a look at this response. Nasa labas. Nasa labas ang CR. The bathroom is outside. These are the location vocabulary. So let's take the question, nasaan ang susi? Where is the key? Susi is key. Nasa labas, it's outside of the car. Nasa labas. Or nasa loob, it's inside the car. Nasa loob ng kotse. Nasa ibabaw, it's on top. Nasa ilalim, it's under. Nasa tabi, it's beside. So if you wanted to be specific, you would add the object afterwards. Nasa tabi ng kotse, it's beside of the car. Ng kotse. Nasa tabi ng kotse. So those are just the different location vocabulary words that you might hear. And just the sentence structure for the response, it would be nasa plus the location word that we just learned. Then it's nang, then it's a place, then it's ang, then the thing. So let's take a look at it. Nasa loob ng kotse ang susi. The key is inside the car. Nasa, loob is the location. There's nang. Kotse is a place or thing. Ang, and then susi is the thing. Okay? Nasa loob ng kotse ang susi. Or nasa ilalim ng kama ang susi. The key is under the bed. Nasa ilalim ng kama ang susi. So people ask me all the time, when do I use nang? When do I use ang? So these words, sometimes they are prepositions, sometimes they are articles that go before a noun. Just try to think about it as the translation. So the key is under the bed. So under of the bed, the key. That's how this is like literally translated. Ng kama is like of the bed. It's under of the bed. And then ang susi, the key. So a lot of it doesn't make sense. It's not the same grammar structure as in English. So just follow this pattern that I'm showing you now. And with more practice, it'll kind of come more naturally. Next, nasa location plus si plus the person. So nasa bahay si tatay. Nasa, and then the location is bahay, si, and then the person, si tatay. Father is at the house. Or nasa loob ng bahay si tatay. So this one is just a little bit more specific of where the father is. The father is inside of the house. So there's the difference there when you're using a location vocabulary versus when you're not. So nasa bahay si tatay, father is at the house. Versus nasa loob ng bahay si tatay, father is inside of the house. Okay, so that's kind of the difference there. And then here are just some other uses for saan and nasaan. Nasaan ka? Where are you? Nasaan ka? Saan napunta yun? Where did that go? So if you're looking for something just rhetorically, you can be like, nasaan napunta yun? Saan napunta yun? Where did it go? Nasaan na? Where is it already? It's like maybe if you're waiting for a pizza to be delivered and they're taking a long time, you're like, nasaan na? Where is it? Where is it? Na again is an emphasis word. Sometimes it means already. Taga saan ka? Where are you from? Taga means from. Saan means where. Ka is referring to you. Where are you from? Taga saan ka? So those are the different ways saan can be used. Now let's practice saan. And on the left side of your screen, you will see the sentence structures that we practiced. So saan plus a verb or saan plus pronoun plus a verb. Remember, anytime we're asking about a verb, you have to use saan. Anytime we're asking about a noun, you have to use nasaan. So nasaan plus ang plus noun. Or nasaan plus si plus a person. Okay, let's put these into use and I think it'll help clarify any questions. So translate these questions to Tagalog. Where is dad going? Pupunta means going. So let's do this one together. Saan, because it's asking about an action. Pupunta si dad. Saan pupunta si dad? And then the response, pupunta si dad sa simbahan. Dad is going to church. Pupunta si dad sa simbahan. So you're kind of taking the second part of this question and using it in your response. Okay, so try practicing that. And there's that preposition sa again, to the church. Okay, pause the video now. You try the next 4 examples and we'll go over it together. Okay, so now let's do number 2. Where is the store? Tindahan is store. It would be nasaan ang tindahan. So we're asking about a noun, the store. So we have to use nasaan. Nasaan ang tindahan? The response, nasa tabi ng post office ang tindahan. Nasa tabi means beside. Ng post office means of the post office, so beside of the post office. Ang tindahan means the store. The store is beside the post office. Next, where will we be eating later? Kakain means will eat. Mamaya means later. Saan tayo kakain mamaya? So we have to use saan because we are talking about an action. Where will we be eating later? And then the pronoun just goes right after the question word. Saan tayo kakain mamaya? Your response, kakain tayo sa McDo mamaya. We're gonna eat at McDonald's later. You ready? Let's go. You pay. Kakain tayo sa McDo mamaya. Next, where is my husband? Asawa means husband or wife. Nasaan ang asawa ko? So we're asking about a noun or an object. So nasaan is what we used. Nasaan ang asawa ko? Where's my husband or wife? Husband in this case. Number 5, where is John? Oh, your response, nasa kusina siya. Nasa kusina siya. He is in the kitchen. So remember, anytime you're using nasaan, your response has to have nasa. And then up here in the previous example, anytime you're using saan, your answer has to have sa. And then last one, where is John and Simon? Nasaan sina John at Simon? So it's nasaan because we're just asking about them, not about what they're doing or where they are doing something. And then it would be nasa labas sila, they are outside. Or nasa labas sina John at Simon. So you can add their names again. Or you could just add the pronoun. And then I added that here in the number 4 example, nasa kusina ang asawa ko. So you can repeat that part of the question, or you can just use a pronoun. Okay, so up to you. So these are the question words that we have learned so far. Ano means what. Bakit means why. Saan means where. Okay? And this is where we're going. We're going to see what these other ones mean. Now, we're going to talk about kailan. Kailan means when. When. So if you want to use it in a question, it would be kailan ang, and then a noun. Kailan ang kaarawan mo? When is your birthday? Kailan ang kaarawan mo? Sa March ang kaarawan ko. My birthday is in March. Sa March ang kaarawan ko. Kailan ang handaan? When is the gathering? When is the party? Sa Sabado ang handaan. The party is on Saturday. And again, you don't have to add this part at the end. You could just say sa Sabado. Kailan ang handaan sa Sabado? But the longer response, kailan ang handaan sa Sabado ang handaan? Okay, so those are the different ways you can use kailan. There's this word sa again, and in this case, it's being translated as on or at a certain time. So that's where, or that is the leading word in your responses. Next, you can use kailan with a verb. So, kailan aalis si Nadine? When is Nadine leaving? Kailan aalis si Nadine? Aalis si Nadine bukas. Nadine is leaving tomorrow. Aalis si Nadine bukas. So, this is just a phrase, and you use the conjugation patterns that we learned, and then you just answer. So depending on what the question is, just make a statement using that correct tense of the verb. Kailan dumating sina nanay at tatay? When did mother and father arrive? Kailan dumating, so kailan plus a verb, sina nanay at tatay? Dumating sila kahapon. They arrived yesterday. So here, sina is a sentence marker that's indicating mother and father, whereas sila is the pronoun that replaces them. So if we were going to say nanay and tatay in the response, we would use sina again. For example, dumating sina nanay at tatay kahapon. But if we're just using the pronoun, it's dumating sila kahapon. Okay, so that's how you would use kailan in a verb. So there are the different sentence markers when you are using a name in your question. When it's one person, it's si. Kailan aalis si Nadine? When it's more than one person, it's sina. Kailan dumating sina nanay at tatay? All right, then you could do kailan plus a pronoun plus a verb. Kailan ka uuwi? When are you going home? Kailan ka uuwi? So there's kailan, there's the pronoun, there's the verb. We're just following the pattern here. Then, uuwi ako mamaya. I am going home later. Uuwi ako mamaya. Another example, kailan sila ikakasal? When are they getting married? Kailan sila ikakasal? Ikakasal sila sa susunod na buwan. They are getting married next month. So hopefully you're recognizing some of this vocabulary from our previous lessons. So we're pulling those patterns of conjugation and the vocabulary words from those lessons, and now we are using them in like a hypothetical conversation, right? So it's all building on each other. Now I want to show you the responses. The response might have the word nung or sa. We already talked about sa. Let's see what nung means. So nung means something happened in the past. Sa means something will happen in the future. So for example, kailan sila ikakasal? When will they get married? The response, sa susunod na buwan, next month. So sa July or sa June, in June or in July. But sa is thinking of the future. When are they getting married? Next month or in June, in July. So sa is the future. However, nung is talking about the past. So kailan sila ikinasal? So that's the past tense conjugation of to get married. They got married when? Nung nakaraan buwan. So last month. Or nung February, nung January. So last February, last January. So that's the difference there. Sa versus nung. Okay? And there's the emphasis there. And here are just some other ways to use kailan. Kahit kailan, that's just an expression meaning anytime, whenever. So maybe someone is inviting you to eat out for dinner. They're like, oh, when are you available? When can you go out for dinner? You're like, kahit kailan, anytime. Or hanggang kailan means until when. So maybe your car is broken, it's in the shop. They're like, oh, you have to keep the car here. And you're like, hanggang kailan? Until when? How long does it stay here? Have to stay here. And then next, kailan nangyari yun? When did that happen? Kailan nangyari yun? Nangyari means happened, and then yun means that. Kailan nangyari yun? And then just a pronunciation tip, it's pronounced kailan, kailan, but you will often hear it pronounced kailan, kailan. Kailan ang kasal? Kailan ang kasal? But it's not wrong to hear kailan ang kasal. It's a little bit more formal. Okay. So here are some examples. On the top left here, you will see the kailan rule. So kailan plus ang plus a noun. Kailan ang kaarawan mo? Kailan plus a verb? Kailan aalis si Nadine? Kailan plus a pronoun plus a verb. Kailan ka uuwi? When are you going home? And then here are the examples I want us to practice. Number 1, when is your vacation? Bakasyon is vacation. So let's just follow, I think it would be rule number 1. Kailan ang bakasyon mo? So kailan, then the word ang, then the noun, which is vacation, and then the pronoun. Kailan ang bakasyon mo? The response, sa susunod na linggo ang bakasyon ko. Next week. My vacation is next week. So a couple things I want to point out in the response. It should have the word sa because it's talking about the future, right? It will be next week. So there's sa. And then just try to remember how to phrase things. And if you weren't able to watch or if you don't remember the past lessons, just go from here and just copy my sentence structures. Okay, so moving forward when you answer these questions, see if you can follow these sentence structures. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video now and then we will go over the examples in just a minute. Okay, so number 2, when are you leaving? Aalis means leaving. Kailan ka aalis? That's just rule number 3. Kailan plus the pronoun plus the verb. Kailan ka aalis? The response, aalis ako sa Lunes. Aalis ako sa Lunes. So there's sa because it's a future action. Number 3, when did Tony come back? Bumalik means came back. Kailan bumalik si Tony? So this is rule number 2. Kailan plus a verb. Kailan bumalik? And then you add si Tony. The response, bumalik si Tony kahapon. He came back yesterday. Bumalik si Tony kahapon. Number 4, when did you buy that? Binili means bought. Kailan mo binili yan? Kailan mo binili yan? So that's rule number 3. Kailan plus the pronoun plus the verb. Kailan mo binili yan? Binili ko yan nung isang linggo. Or binili ko ito nung isang linggo. I bought that last week or I bought this last week, depending on how you want to answer your question. Number 5, when are you going to sleep? Matutulog means will go to sleep. So, kailan ka matutulog? This is just rule number 3. Kailan plus a pronoun plus a verb. Kailan ka matutulog? Matutulog ako mamaya. Matutulog ako mamaya. I know it can get a little tricky figuring out which structure to use, and then when there's a pronoun or when there's like added information that has to be added to the end. I know it can get tricky, but use these examples to see the patterns in use and then try to use them in the future. Okay, so don't get bogged down if you're not getting the answers right. Really just use this as another form of learning, right? It's okay if it's not correct yet, but I want you to see how they are being used. Okay, so the next question word we are going to learn is sino, and that means who. Sino. So these are the different ways sino is used. Sino plus the word ang, then it's a verb, a noun, or an adjective. So it's easy because you just have to use sino ang, and then you just fill in the end with a verb, noun, or an adjective. Sino ang kumakanta? Singing. Who is singing? Sino ang kumakanta? Ang kumakanta ay si Mario. Si Mario ang kumakanta, or kumakanta si Mario? Si Mario. I wanted to show you all the different ways a response could be made. So, sino ang kumakanta? Who is singing? This first example is formal. Ang kumakanta ay si Mario. This next one is a little bit formal as well. Si Mario ang kumakanta. Si Mario ang kumakanta. That's kind of formal. This one is casual. Kumakanta si Mario. Mario is singing. Kumakanta si Mario. And then this last one is just a short answer. So, si Mario. Who is singing? Mario. So those are the different ways you can say Mario is singing. Those are the different responses. And then there is the word that has to be in the answer. Si. Because we're asking about a person, your answer has to have si or sina if it's more than one person. We'll see that. So now if you are going to fill it in with a noun, sino ang mga magulang mo? Mga magulang means parents. Sino ang mga magulang mo? Who are your parents? Ang mga magulang ko ay sina John at Mary. So that's what I was just saying. Si is for one person, sina is for more than one person. So, ang mga magulang ko ay sina John at Mary. My parents are John and Mary. Another way to say it is sina John at Mary ang mga magulang ko. Or sina John at Mary. So those are the different ways to say John and Mary are my parents. When in doubt, go ahead and just use the shortest answer. I don't want you to sound redundant, and then I also don't want you to have to think of too many vocabulary words or an extended sentence structure. So just answer it with the shortest answer because it's still correct. Sino ang mga magulang mo? Sino John at Mary. And then, if it's an adjective that you're asking about, it would be sino ang, and then the adjective. Sino ang pagod? Pagod means tired. Who is tired? Sino ang pagod? Ang pagod ay ang mga bata. The kids are tired. Ang pagod ay ang mga bata. That one's formal. Next, ang mga bata ang pagod. Ang mga bata ang pagod. That is also formal. Or, pagod ang mga bata. Pagod ang mga bata. That one is casual. That is what I would say a lot more than the other two. And then the short answer, ang mga bata. Sino ang pagod? Ang mga bata. The kids. The kids are tired. So those are the different ways to say the kids are tired. Now, let's take a look at the responses. Si and sina. Si is for one person. Sina is for multiple people. So an example, kumakanta si Mario. Si Mario, because it's just one person. Versus kumakanta sina Mario at Jane. Mario and Jane are singing. So sina is used because there's more than one person. Now you can also respond with a pronoun. So sino ang pagod? Who's tired? You can say, ako, me, ako. Or sino ang pagod? Siya. Him, he is, siya. Sino ang pagod? Ikaw, you. You are tired, ikaw. So you can just respond with a pronoun. So I would say that, like, sino ang pagod? Ako. Just say ako. Keep it easy, right? And then here are the different pronouns. So ako is I, siya, he or she, so that's gender neutral. Sila, they. Ikaw, you, singular. Kayo, you all, plural. Tayo is we inclusive. That's you and me, all of us. We are all tired. Maybe we all ran a race together. We are all tired. Pagod tayo. And then pagod kami, me and my husband Chris, we ran. Only us, we did. So pagod kami, we are tired. Not you. I'm just telling you about it. Okay? Now here are other ways sino is used. Sino siya? Who is he? Who is she? Sino siya? The response, siya si Pat. She is Pat, or that is Pat. Sino ito? Who is this? Sino ito? Ito si Pat. This is Pat. Ito si blank. Sino yun? Who's that? Sino yun? Yun si Pat. That's Pat. Or sino ka? Who are you? Sino ka? The response, ako si Pat. Now, I do want to say, you really shouldn't say sino ka if you want to be polite. Sino ka is kind of rude or just a little blunt. Like, sino ka? Who are you? So it would be more polite to say, sino po kayo? So for one thing, add po to be respectful. And then when you're adding po, you have to use the plural you pronoun. So kayo, sino po kayo? That's a lot more polite instead of saying sino ka. If you want to ask, who are you again? Sino po kayo? And then just a pronunciation tip. If you have sino ang in a question, you might hear sinong. So they put it together. So sinong kumakanta? Who is singing? Sinong kumakanta? Instead of sino ang kumakanta, it's sinong kumakanta. Okay? Now let's practice some translations when we're using sino in a question. So sino ang plus a verb, noun or object or adjective. And here are the examples there. And let's do number 1 together. Who is taking a shower? Naliligo means to take a shower or taking a shower. So it would be sino ang naliligo. Sino ang plus the verb. Sino ang naliligo? Easy, right? The response, si George ang naliligo. Si George ang naliligo. Or the simplest answer, si George. Si George. But you have to add si or si na because that is the indicator of a person. You have to add that in your response. So go ahead and take a minute, pause the video now. You finish the examples and then we'll go back and do them together. Okay, welcome back. Let's do number 2. Who is your sibling? Sibling in Tagalog is kapatid. Sino ang kapatid mo? So kapatid is a noun. So sino ang kapatid mo? The response, kapatid ko si Sam. Kapatid ko si Sam. Or it could be si Sam ang kapatid ko. Si Sam ang kapatid ko. Remember, there are different ways to respond. Number 1, we said si George ang naliligo. It could have also been naliligo si George. So again, you can look back at the different ways a response can be made. When in doubt, just say the shortest answer. So this one could have been si Sam. Sino ang kapatid mo? Si Sam. Number 3, who is scared? Natatakot is scared. Sino ang natatakot? Who is scared? Natatakot ang mga bata. The kids are scared. The kids are scared. Natatakot ang mga bata. Number 4, who cooked dinner? Nagluto is cooked, hapunan is dinner. Who cooked dinner is sino ang nagluto ng hapunan. So that's just sino plus ang plus a verb. Sino ang nagluto ng hapunan? Nang is the sentence marker before the noun. Si Lola ang nagluto ng hapunan. Lola cooked the dinner. Si Lola ang nagluto ng hapunan. And then last example, who called? Tumawag is called. Sino ang tumawag? Sino ang tumawag? So it's just the verb. Tumawag ang nanay mo. Your mother called. Tumawag ang nanay mo. Or the simplest response, ang nanay mo. Okay, so try to keep it simple when you can, but hopefully you can see the patterns that you can use when you're making a question and then answering a question. All right, the next question word that we are going to learn is kanino. Kanino means whose. Kanino. It could be used like this. Kanino, then the word ang, then the noun, then na, and then an adjective. I know that's a lot. Let's take a look at it in action. So, kanino ang sombrero na itim? Whose black hat? Kanino ang sombrero is hat, na itim. Itim means black. Now the response. Kay Jacob ang sombrero na itim. The black hat belongs to Jacob. And I want to move forward, and then we're going to go back and make everything make sense. Okay, so the next sentence structure or question structure would be kanino ang plus the noun plus na and then a demonstrative pronoun. So it's similar to this previous structure. Instead of an adjective, though, it's going to be a demonstrative pronoun. So kanino ang sombrero na ito? So whose hat is this? Whose hat is this? Kanino ang sombrero na ito? And the response, kay Jacob ang sombrero na iyan. That's Jacob's hat. Okay, so hopefully you can see here, there's just this pattern of kanino, then the noun, ang plus a noun, na, it's like a sentence marker. Again, sometimes it doesn't have a direct translation, but it's like the linking word for the adjective or for the pronoun. And then just a pronunciation tip, kanino ang can be put together in a contraction. It would be kaninong. Kaninong sombrero na itim. Or kaninong sombrero ito. All right, when using the contraction though, you drop the na if there's a demonstrative pronoun. So kaninong sombrero ito, you wouldn't say kaninong sombrero na ito. So that's just one thing. It's kind of redundant when you add the na again. So just to respond, you would use an ownership marker, then the person, then the word ang, then the noun, then na iyan. So let's see what that would look like. Kanino ang bahay na iyan? Whose house is that? Kanino ang bahay na iyan? Here are the different ownership markers. So one of these has to be in your response. If there's only one owner, it's kay, kay. If there's multiple owners, it's kina, kina. More than one person, it's kina. If there's not a person, if there's no one's name, then you would have to use sa, sa. So it's an improper noun or an unnamed person. So we'll see what that would look like. So an example here, kanino ang bahay na iyan? Whose house is that? Or kaninong bahay yan? If it's just one person, it would be kay Rose ang bahay na iyan. Kay Rose yan. So we are using kay because it's just Rose. It's just one person, Rose. Versus if there's multiple owners, so kaninong bahay yan? Whose house is that? Kina Mike at Ana ang bahay na iyan. Or kina Mike at Ana yan. That is Mike and Anna's house. So I want to point out there's kina. that is when you would use kina when there's more than one person owning that thing. Now, kanino ang bahay na iyan? Whose house is that? Sa kapatid ko ang bahay na iyan. That is my sister's house. That is my sibling's house. Sa kapatid ko ang bahay na iyan. Or sa kapatid ko yan. That is my sister's. That is my siblings. So you see how the person is unnamed? It's just kind of an improper noun. It's like a general answer. So that is when you would use sa, when the person is unnamed. It's just like a person in general speaking. Okay, so here are some more ownership pronouns that you could use when answering a kanino question. So, akin means mine. Iyo means yours singular. Kanya means his or hers. Inyo means your plural. Maybe it's your house, bahay ninyo, or inyo. And then atin is our inclusive. Amin is ours, me and my husband, Chris. And then kanila is theirs. So here's an example of how to use that. Kanino ang bahay na iyan? Whose house is that? Akin yan. That's mine. Akin yan. Or inyo yan. That's yours. You all live in one house. Inyo yan. That's your house. Or kanila yan. That's their house. Kanila yan. Okay, so that's how to use these ownership pronouns. I want to show you, let's go back to the first example we learned. I know it's a lot of words in this one. So, kanino ang sombrero na itim? Whose black hat is this? So, sombrero is hat, itim means black. But they are interchangeable. Like you can switch them around and it would still mean the same thing. For example, kanino ang itim na sombrero? So instead of saying, kanino ang sombrero na itim, you might hear, kanino ang itim na sombrero? So in Tagalog, you can switch the adjective and the noun around and it will still make sense. And why does that happen? It probably just goes back to baybayin or to the evolution of Tagalog in general. So the adjective and the Tagalog vocabulary word can be interchangeable and they mean the same thing. Another example, kanino ang sombrero na pula? Pula means red. So whose red hat is this? You can switch it up and it could be kanino ang pula no sombrero. So we just switched it. But I want to show you that when you switch it, you can make a contraction, meaning you can put pula and na together. And now it would be kanino ang pulang sombrero? Whose red hat is this? Okay, so those are the two things I want you to get out of this slide. First, you can switch the adjective and the noun. So you can switch them in the question and it will still make sense. Second, when your adjective ends with a vowel like pula, then you can make the contraction. Add ng to the end. Instead of saying pula na sombrero, it's pulang sombrero. Pulang sombrero. We can't do that with the word itim because it ends with a consonant. There's nothing to put together. It would still have to stay itim na sombrero. Okay, so to respond to this question, kanino ang sombrero na pula? It would just be, kay Mary ang pulang sombrero. That is Mary's hat, or that hat belongs to Mary. Kay Mary ang pulang sombrero. Okay, so your response has to have the ownership marker, kay, because it's one person, and then you can add the rest of the phrase. But remember, your simplest answer would be kay Mary, kay Mary. Now, let's practice using kanino in a question. So, kanino ang plus a noun plus na plus the adjective. Or Kanino ang plus a noun plus na plus a demonstrative pronoun. Kanino ang sombrero na ito versus kanino ang sombrero na itim. And then the response has to have the ownership marker. Remember, kay or kina or sa. Then it's the person. Then it's ang noun na iyan. Or you could just use the simplest answer. Let's take a look at these examples. Whose house is the big one? Whose house is the big one? Malaki means big. Bahay means house. It would be kanino ang, then it's the noun bahay na malaki. So whose house is the big one? Kanino ang bahay na malaki? The response, oh, here's another way to say it. Kanino ang malaking bahay? So this just goes back to the previous slide. Remember, the adjective and the noun can be switched. And if the adjective ends in a vowel, then you can make a contraction. Malaking bahay instead of malaki na bahay. Malaking bahay. And then the response would be, oh, that's it. The response is actually example number 2. So pause the video now, answer the rest of these questions, and then we will go through it. Okay, welcome back. Number 2, that is Teddy's house. It would be, kay Teddy ang bahay na malaki na yan. Or kay Teddy ang malaking bahay na iyan. Or the simplest answer, kay Teddy. Kay Teddy. Okay, so see if you can recognize kind of where the noun would go, where the adjective would go, and then see that you can switch them up and it would still make sense. Next, number 3, whose child is that? Child in Tagalog is anak. Kanino ang anak na iyan? Kanino ang anak na iyan? So that's rule number 2. Kanino plus ang plus noun plus na plus the demonstrative pronoun. Or kaninong anak yan? Kaninong anak yan? This second part is how it would be pronounced. I just want to show you how it would be pronounced. It's not technically the correct spelling of things, but that's how you would hear it or say it quickly. Kaninong anak yan? Whose child is that? Number 4, that is Chris and AJ's child. Kina Chris at AJ ang anak na iyan. Kina Chris at AJ ang anak na iyan. I want to point out kina, that is the ownership marker that you use when there's multiple people. And then the short answer, kina Chris at AJ. Kina Chris at AJ. Number 5, whose cell phone is this? Kanino ang cellphone na ito? So that's following sentence structure number 2. Kanino ang, the noun is cell phone, na, ito is the demonstrative pronoun. And just quickly speaking, someone might say, kaninong cell phone ito? Kaninong cell phone ito? So the na is dropped usually. Whenever someone is speaking quickly, the na is dropped. But I want to point out that technically there is a na. I don't think I would be a very good teacher if I didn't tell you the correct technology, like the technically correct way to say these things. But in colloquial speaking or in common conversation, the na is dropped. Kaninong cell phone ito? And then the response, that is my cousin's cell phone. Cousin in Tagalog is pinsan. Sa pinsan ko ang cell phone na iyan. So I want to point out sa is the ownership marker that you use because it's not a specific person, right? The person is unnamed. So sa pinsan ko ang cell phone na iyan. Or just in common conversation, you might hear, sa pinsan ko yan. Sa pinsan ko yan. Or even the shortest answer, sa pinsan ko. Sa pinsan ko. Okay. Let's just look at all of the questions that we have learned here. So we learned ano means what, bakit means why, saan means where, sino means who, kanino means whose. Then we're going to learn these last 4 here. Next, paano means how. Paano means how. So, paano plus a verb. Paano magluto ng adobo? How does one cook adobo? Paano magluto ng adobo? Or paano gumawa ng video? How do you make a video? How does one make a video? Paano gumawa ng video? So there's the paano question word, then it's a verb that follows. And then ng plus a noun. Another way to use paano is paano plus a pronoun plus a verb. So paano ka uuwi? Paano ka uuwi? Paano ka umuwi? How did you get home? Paano ka umuwi? Or, paano mo nalaman yung balita? How did you discover the news? Paano mo, there's the pronoun. Nalaman, there's the verb. Yung balita. And just to note, there's no particular response formation for these paano question words. There's no pattern or anything like that because your answers will just be a statement using the appropriate tense of the verb. So just answer as if it's a statement, right? So that brings in all of our conjugation patterns and using the correct pronouns and things like that. So just make a sentence with what you know. Now I want to show you this other question word. We learned paano, but there's also gaano. This also means how, but in a different sense. For example, gaano plus an adjective plus ang plus a noun. For example, gaano katangkad ang anak mo? Even if you've never heard the word katangkad, but you know the word matangkad. Matangkad means tall. Hopefully you can kind of maybe guess that this is asking about the height of someone's child, right? So, gaano katangkad ang anak mo? How tall is your child? Let's see another example. Oh, the answer would be 5'10" siya. He is 5'10". 5'10" siya. Here's another example. Gaano kadalas ka namimili? Kadalas means often. Madalas means often. Namimili means to go shopping. So how often do you go shopping? Gaano kadalas ka namimili? Namimili ako linggo-linggo. I go shopping every week. Namimili ako linggo-linggo. So I want to point out that when it says to use an adjective, we're actually using the adjective with a ka prefix. So technically the adjective is matangkad, tall, matangkad. But when we're using it in a gaano question, we have to use the ka prefix, katangkad. Gaano katangkad ang anak mo? And the ka prefix is a way to show the quality of something. It's asking about the characteristic of that adjective. It's a little interesting. So when we're asking gaano katangkad, it's like asking about that person's adjective or that height. So yes, again, the prefix ka is used when measuring the extent of that adjective. And then just a pronunciation tip, if you happen to see gaano ang something, it's usually put together and it's gaanong. So gaanong katangkad ang anak mo? We didn't have ang in these examples because technically you don't need it, but some people add it still, and it would be gaanong katangkad ang anak mo. So both of those are correct. Gaano katangkad ang anak mo or gaanong katangkad ang anak mo? Both of those are correct. Now, we learned paano, we learned gaano. Now there's this question, magkano. Magkano. Let's see what they all mean. So paano is asking about an action, right? Paano gumawa ng adobo? How do you make adobo? It's asking about the action. Paano gumawa ng adobo? Or paano mo nakuha ito? How did you get this? Paano mo nakuha, the action to get, ito. Another way to ask how is gaano, but this is asking about the extent of something. Gaano kabilis ang kotse mo? How fast is your car? Gaano kabilis ang kotse mo? So it's asking about the speed of your car. And then magkano is asking about the cost of something. Magkano ang t-shirt? How much is the t-shirt? Or magkano po? How much is this po? Po is just a sign of respect. So how much is this? Okay, so very interesting. These words sound alike, but they are used for different situations. Now, here are just some other paano uses. So, paano nangyari yun? How did that happen? Paano nangyari yun? Yari means happen. And then yun means that. Paano nangyari yun? How did that happen? Or paano na ngayon? What now? Ngayon means now. So technically this is like, how now? It's a rhetorical question when something goes wrong. Like, oh no, I lost my job. Paano na ngayon? What now? What am I going to do now? And then just a pronunciation tip. It's technically paano. Paano. When there are two vowels together, you say them separately. Paano. But when speaking quickly, Filipinos just say paano. Paano na ngayon? Paano na ngayon? Now, let's practice using paano and gaano in some questions. So, paano is with a verb. How do you do something? And then paano plus a pronoun plus a verb if you want to be specific by adding a pronoun. Gaano uses an adjective. So, gaano plus adjective plus ang plus a noun. Okay, so just try to follow these sentence structures. And then here are the examples that I want us to do. Let's do number 1 together. How does one write a book? How does one write a book? Magsulat means to write. Libro is book. Libro is book. So how does one write a book? This is actually asking about an action. So we would use paano. Paano magsulat ng libro? Paano magsulat ng libro? How does one write a book? Go ahead and pause the video now and we will do the rest together. Okay, welcome back. Let's do number 2. How did you make this? Ginawa means made. Paano mo ginawa ito? So that's following rule number 2. Paano, then the pronoun, then the verb. Paano mo ginawa ito? Number 3, how far is your house? Malayo means far, bahay is house. So, gaano kalayo ang bahay mo? Do you see that it's asking about the distance of your house? So it's like an extent of that adjective. So, gaano kalayo ang bahay mo? That's why we're using gaano instead of paano, because we're asking about like an adjective related to your house. How did you get that? Nakuha means got. Paano mo nakuha yan? There's no adjective in this question, so we would just still use paano. And that follows rule number 2. Paano mo nakuha is the verb yan. Number 5, how big is their dog? Malaki is big, aso is dog. How big is their dog? So it's asking about an adjective, so we would have to use gaano. Gaano kalaki ang aso nila, their dog nila. And then number 6, how spicy is the food? Maanghang is spicy, pagkain is food. So it's asking about an adjective, the spiciness of it. So it would be gaano kaanghang ang pagkain. Gaano kaanghang ang pagkain. So in all of these examples, I gave you the adjective in the ma form, right? Malayo, malaki, maanghang. So it's the ma form of the adjective. But remember, when you are using gaano as a question, you have to change the adjective into the ka form. So it has to have the ka prefix because it's asking about the extent of that adjective. Okay, if you have any questions, again, please feel free to write them in the comments. I will try to answer. Okay, next question word we're going to learn is ilan. How many? Ilan. So it would be ilan, then ang, then a noun. For example, ilan ang anak mo? How many kids do you have? Ilan ang anak mo? Ang anak ko ay tatlo. Ang anak ko ay tatlo. I have 3 kids. Or tatlo ang anak ko. Or tatlo. So again, there are many ways to respond. The first one is formal. No one really says it like that. The second one is common. That is what people would say. And then the last one is the short answer, which is also acceptable. I have 3 kids. That is what that means. Now, you might hear someone say, ilan na ang anak mo? Ilan na ang anak mo? Na means already. It's kind of like an emphasis. Maybe you haven't seen someone in a very long time and you're just catching up. They're like, ilan na ang anak mo? How many kids do you have now? Or how many kids do you have already? So it's just like an emphasis. And then technically, when you want to make something plural, you have to add the word mga. So mga anak, kids, mga anak. But in the question form, you don't have to add mga because it's already implied. So you don't say, ilan ang mga anak mo? You can, it's not wrong, but people drop it and it's just, ilan ang anak mo? How many kids do you have? But it's not incorrect if you wanted to add mga, ilan ang mga anak mo? It's just kind of redundant. All right, next, ilan ang plus a verb. Ilan ang pupunta sa handaan? How many are going to the party? Ilan ang pupunta? Pupunta is the verb meaning to go. So ilan ang pupunta sa party? The response is, ang pupunta ay 5 or 5 ang pupunta or 5. I would say the second one. 5 ang pupunta. 5 people are going to the party. Next example, ilan ang kakain dito? How many are eating here? Ilan ang kakain dito? And then, your response is, ang kakain dito ay 3. Or 3 ang kakain dito. Or 3. That means 3 people are eating here. Or will eat here. So, both of these questions ask about like how many people are coming, how many people are eating. And I didn't add the word tao because it's kind of implied already. Like ilang tao ang kakain dito or ilan na tao ang kakain dito. Those just kind of make it a little bit more complicated. If you want to just get straight to the point of the question, you don't have to add the word tao. It's kind of implied. So, ilan ang pupunta sa handaan, ilan ang kakain dito. It's asking about like the people. Okay. Next. Just a pronunciation tip. When there's ilan ang, it's usually put together and it's ilang. Ilang taon ka na? How old are you? Ilang taon ka na? I will say when you make the contraction, though, it kind of changes up the sentence structure or the grammar. So, ilan ang taon mo? Technically, if we were following the sentence structure that we learned, it would be ilan ang taon mo? How many years do you have? How many years are you? But when we make the contraction, ilang taon ka na, now we are using a different pronoun. So, ilang taon ka na. And you don't have to add na, ilang taon ka? How old are you? Ilang taon ka? But I do want to point out you have to change the pronoun here when you're making the contraction, and it's just a different form of asking how old are you. Another example of that is ilan ang anak mo? How many kids do you have? Versus ilang anak ang meron ka? So we made the contraction, and then now we changed up the grammar a little bit. So they both mean how many kids do you have, but this one is literally meron means to have. So ilang anak ang meron ka? How many kids do you have? So same meanings, just different ways of saying it. All right. Now, when you respond with an amount of something, you might hear or you might use this word lang or na. So, ilan ang anak mo? How many kids do you have? A response could be, isa lang ang anak ko. I only have one kid. Lang means only. Isa lang ang anak ko. Or, na means already. Tatlo na ang anak ko. I have 3 kids already. Tatlo na ang anak ko. Or another example, ilang donuts ang kinain mo? How many donuts have you eaten? Ilang donuts ang kinain mo? Or how many donuts did you eat? So, you could say, dalawa lang, only 2. Dalawa lang, only 2. Or, apat na ang kinain ko. I already ate 5. I've already eaten 5. Apat na ang kinain ko. So these 2 words kind of show almost like an emphasis, or they just give you an idea of how much or little something is. Only and already. Okay? Now, there are other ways to use ilan. Very interesting. So there's pang ilan, tig ilan, and mga ilan. So, pang ilan is what you use when you're asking about the ranking of something or the order of something. So, for example, pang ilan ka sa magkakapatid? In what order were you born amongst your siblings? So, were you the oldest? Were you the firstborn? Are you in the middle? Are you the last? Where were you in the order of your siblings? Pang ilan ka sa magkakapatid? Some responses, panganay ako, I'm the oldest. Panganay ako. Pangatlo ako, I'm the third. Pangatlo ako. Or bunso ako, I am the youngest. Bunso ako. So you'll see the response usually has pang in it because the question has pang. So pang is almost like in which or where. It's just asking about like the placement of things. Okay, so here's another example. Pang ilan ka sa contest? What place did you get in the contest? Pang ilan ka sa contest? Here are some examples. Una ako, I was first. Una ako. Pangalawa ako, second. Pangatlo, third. So again, there's that pang prefix that you use to answer when it's a pang question. Very interesting. Next, tig ilan means how many of each. So for example, maybe you're shopping at a store and you're like, oh, I like all of these t-shirts, but I want multiple of them. They might ask you, tig ilan na t-shirt ang gusto mo? How many of each t-shirt do you want? For example, oh, I want 3 of the red t-shirts, 2 of the white t-shirts, 1 of the black. So, tig ilan na t-shirt? How many of each t-shirt do you want? Your response would just be the number of it. So, dalawang pula, 2 reds, isang puti, 1 white, and so on. So, you see it's asking how many of each type of thing. Another example, tig ilan na tsokolate ang gusto mo? How many of each chocolate do you want? So, for example, if there are M&Ms, Snickers, Twix, and so on. Tig ilan na tsokolate ang gusto mo? You could say, tig iisa po. I'll take 1 of each. Tig iisa. 1 M&M, 1 Snickers, 1 Twix. tig-iisa. Or tigdadalawa po, 2 of each. 2 M&Ms, 2 Snickers, 2 Twix. Tigdadalawa. Tigdadalawa. And then tigtatatlo po, 3 of each. You get the idea. And then I want to show you that the question has na. So tig ilan na t-shirt, tig ilan na chocolate. And in this case, na is translating as of. How many of each t-shirt, how many of each chocolate do you want? And then just a pronunciation tip here. Tig ilan is a homonym, meaning it can have different translations depending on how it's pronounced. So tig ilan, when there's a hyphen in it, you have to have that glottal stop. Tig ilan. That means how many of each. When there's no hyphen, tigilan, tigilan. It's just one word, tigilan. That means to stop. For example, tig ilan t-shirt ang gusto nila. How many of each t-shirt do they want? Tig ilang t-shirt ang gusto nila. That means how many of each t-shirt do they want? But if you say, tigilan mo yan, that means stop that. Okay, so again, that glottal stop is important for proper pronunciation because they mean different things otherwise. And lastly, mga ilan means about how many. Mga ilan. So, mga ilan na tao ang darating? About how many people are coming. Mga ilan na tao ang darating. You could say mga 10 tao or mga 10 na tao. There's the contraction that you can make when the adjective or when the number ends in a vowel. Just add the ng at the end. So about 10 people, mga 10 tao. And up here, I just wanted to show you, you can make a contraction again. Instead of mga ilan na tao ang darating, it's mga ilang tao ang darating. About how many people are coming. So that's just a pronunciation tip. Make that contraction to make it flow a little bit better. Another example, ilan na tao ang darating? How many people are coming? Ilan na tao ang darating? 10. So that's just to show you the difference here. Mga ilan is about how many are coming versus ilan na tao ang darating. This is like definitive. 10 people are definitely coming. Versus mga 10, about 10. Okay, so when you add mga, it's asking about like an estimation. When you don't have mga, it's asking for a definitive answer. And then just another example of mga ilan na oras ang biyahe. Mga ilang oras ang biyahe. About how long is the trip? Mga 3 oras. It's about 3 hours. Mga 3 oras. So there is the na again, and then you can put it together so that it's just ilang. So mga ilang oras ang biyahe or mga ilang tao ang darating. All right. So this is just a review of how to use these different ilan questions. So pang ilan is a ranking question or asking about the order placement. Tig ilan is asking about how many of each. Mga ilan means about how many of something. Okay, now let's practice using ilan in some questions. So on the left side, you will see the different ways to use ilan. Ilan plus ang plus a noun. Ilan ang anak mo? Or ilan plus ang plus a verb. Ilan ang pupunta sa handaan? And here are some examples. Let's do number 1 together. How many cats do you have? Mga pusa is cats. It would be ilan ang pusa mo. Ilan ang pusa mo? Remember, you don't have to add mga, but you can. It's not incorrect. But just to be quick about it, and if you want to sound natural, you don't have to. So, ilan ang pusa mo? Ilan ang pusa mo? How many cats do you have? Pause the video now and you do the rest, and then we will go over it. All right, welcome back. Number 2, I have 2 cats. Dalawa ang pusa ko. So that's how you would respond to question number 1. I have 2 cats. Dalawa ang pusa ko. Number 3, how many are coming to the house? Darating means coming. So it would be ilan ang darating. So ilan plus ang plus a verb. Ilan ang darating sa bahay. Number 4, 4 people are coming to the house. Apat means 4. So 4 people are coming to the house would be apat ang darating sa bahay. Apat ang darating sa bahay. Remember, the short answer would be apat, apat. Number 5, how many friends do you have? Kaibigan is friends. Actually, kaibigan is friend. Mga kaibigan would be friends. Ilan ang kaibigan mo? Ilan ang kaibigan mo? How many friends do you have? Also, you could say, ilan ang mga kaibigan mo? Ilan ang mga kaibigan mo? That is also correct, but remember, you don't have to add it. Number 6, I have 10 friends. 10 means 10. 10 ang kaibigan ko. 10 ang kaibigan ko. Or 10 ang mga kaibigan ko. I have 10 friends. All right. Another way to answer this, meron akong 10 mga kaibigan. So I want to show you again, there are different ways to answer. There's a long form, there's a short form, there's an even shorter form, right? Just say the number by itself. So if you hear different responses, hopefully you can recognize some of the vocabulary words and just kind of go from there. This one is a fun practice. So I want us to match the question words with the correct example. Then we're going to translate and then give a response. So on the left side are the different question words. Pang-ilan, tig-ilan, mga ilan. On the right side are some example questions. How many of each hat do you want? About how many balloons are we going to buy? How many drinks have you had? Like, what number is that? Or what number of drinks is that for you? So we have to match what question word would go with that question, and then we will translate. So go ahead and do that. Pause the video and see if you can match and then translate and give a response. Okay, welcome back. Let's see. This is what the answers would be. Pang-ilan goes with this question. How many drinks have you had? What number is that? What number of drinks is that for you? So it's asking about like the order of your drinks and asking about just basically like where you are in your line of drinks. Tig-ilan would be how many of each hat do you want? So it's asking about the amount of each. Mga ilan, about how many balloons are we going to buy? So it's an estimation. We don't know exactly. It's just about how many do you want. Okay, so hopefully you were able to match them. Now let's see if we can translate them. How many of each hat do you want? It would be, tig-ilan na sombrero ang gusto mo? Tig-ilan na sombrero ang gusto mo? And then your response could be, tig-iisa po, one of each. Tig-iisa. Next, about how many balloons are we going to buy? Mga ilan na lobo ang bibilhin natin? Or mga ilang lobo ang bibilhin natin? Your response, mga 5, about 5. Mga 5. How many drinks have you had? What number is this? What number of drinks is that for you? All of that is encompassed by this one question. Pang-ilan na inumin mo na yan? Pang-ilan na inumin mo na yan? Pang-apat na ito. This is my 4th. Pang-apat na ito. So do you see how that one is asking about the order of your drinks or like how many you've had? And then your response is just that order. So this is the 4th. Pang-apat na ito. All right. So those were different ways to ask for how many. This next question word, alin, means which. Which. Alin. So alin ang, excuse me, alin ang plus a verb. Alin ang plus a verb. So alin ang gusto mong damit? Yung pula or yung puti? Which dress do you like? The red or the white? Alin ang gusto mong damit? Your response would just be one of the choices. Yung pula ang gusto ko. The red is the one I like. I like the red one. Yung pula ang gusto ko. Or, yung pulang damit ang gusto ko. If you want to be specific, yung pulang damit ang gusto ko. So, yung pula means the red one. Yung pulang damit means the red dress, specifically. And then I want to point out, mong up here is just mo plus nang put together. So, alin ang gusto mo ng damit? Alin ang kinain mo? Yung cookie or yung cake? Which did you eat? The cookie or the cake? So, there's alin, then ang, then a verb. Alin ang kinain mo? Yung cookie or yung cake? Which did you eat? Your response, yung cake ang kinain ko. I ate the cake. Or, kinain ko yung cake. So those are the different ways you can respond. And then, of course, you can always put things together. So, alin ang becomes aling. So, aling gusto mo? Aling gusto mo? Alin ang gusto mo? Aling gusto mo? Alin plus an adjective. Alin plus ang plus an adjective. Alin ang mas malaki? Yung bahay na pula o bahay na puti? It's kind of hard to see. Oh, there's the white house right here. It's to the left of the red house. So, alin ang mas malaki? Which is bigger? Yung bahay na pula, the red house, o yung bahay na puti, the white house? Mas malaki yung bahay na pula. Mas malaki yung bahay na pula. The red house is bigger. Mas means more, or it's like the part of an adjective. Here's another way to describe an adjective. Alin ang pinakamalaki? Which is the biggest? Yung bahay na itim ang pinakamalaki. The black house is the biggest. So I just want to point out these two words, mas and pinaka. Those are called superlative adjectives. So let's take a look at those a little bit more. So big is malaki, bigger is mas malaki, biggest is pinakamalaki. Small is maliit, smaller is mas maliit, smallest is pinakamaliit. And then just one more example, pretty is maganda, prettier is mas maganda, prettiest is pinakamaganda. So those are the different ways you can describe something, especially in this alin question form, like which is bigger, which is the biggest. Now you can also use alin with a pronoun. So it's alin plus ang plus noun plus pronoun. Alin ang bahay mo? Which is your house? Alin ang bahay mo? Your response? Yung bahay na maliit ang bahay ko. Or yung maliit na bahay. Both of those mean the small house is mine. Yung bahay na maliit ang bahay ko. And then another example now with verbs. Alin plus na plus noun plus ang plus a verb. So, alin na kotse ang bibilhin mo? Alin na kotse ang bibilhin mo means which car are you going to buy? Yung mura na kotse, the cheap car. Yung mura na kotse. I think we already saw this. Anytime you see alin na, it's aling. So, aling kotse ang bibilin mo? Aling kotse. Now, let's practice some questions using the word alin. Here are the different formats of using alin. Alin plus ang plus a verb. Alin plus ang plus an adjective. Alin plus ang plus a noun and pronoun. Then alin plus na plus noun, ang, and verb. Here are our practice questions. Which is your favorite? The sweet or the salty one? Paborito means favorite. Matamis means sweet. Maalat means salty. Alin ang paborito? So we just followed rule number 2. Alin ang paborito mo? Which is your favorite? And then the next part of the question, yung matamis o yung maalat? The sweet or the salty? Yung matamis o yung maalat? You take a minute, you do the rest, and then we'll check. Okay, number 2, my favorite is the sweet one. Paborito ko yung matamis. Paborito ko yung matamis. That is how you would respond to that first question. Or you could say these ways. Yung matamis ang paborito ko. The sweet one is my favorite. Or just simply you could say yung matamis, the sweet one. Number 3, which dish is the most delicious? Adobo or sinigang? Ulam means a dish or a meat. Masarap means delicious. So, alin na ulam ang pinakamasarap? Alin na ulam ang pinakamasarap? So, it's kind of taking rule number 4, but then instead of a verb, it's adding the superlative adjective. And then the choices would just be adobo o sinigang. Adobo is the most delicious dish, would be adobo ang pinakamasarap na ulam. Adobo ang pinakamasarap na ulam. So there you go. Hopefully you can see the patterns and then using some of these sentence markers when you want to add more information to your sentence. And I want you to try this Taglish tip whenever you are giving a choice. Maybe you can start using this word yung. So it's like, what do you want to watch tonight? Yung comedy or yung horror? So the comedy or the horror movie. So try using Taglish when you can. So that's one way to do that. So give choices by adding this word yung. Okay, home stretch. This is the very last question word we're going to be learning. Ba is a question word that's added to questions when it's a yes or no answer. It's interesting because ba doesn't really have a direct English translation, but you can add it to a statement and it will turn it into a question. So these are the common placements of ba. First, it goes after a noun, adjective, or a verb, or it can go before or after some pronouns, and it goes after na or pa if they appear in a phrase. So first, it can go after a noun, adjective, or verb. For example, bahay ba yan ni Sarah? Is that Sarah's house? Bahay ba yan ni Sarah? It's going after the noun. Or, mabait ba si Tita Baby? Is Tita Baby nice? Mabait ba si Tita Baby? So it's going after the adjective, mabait. Lastly, it can go after the verb. Nagluto ba si David? Did David cook? Nagluto ba si David? So it's going after the verb nagluto. Next, sometimes ba goes before a pronoun. Sometimes it goes after. Take a look at this. So subject pronouns, we already learned about these in the previous lessons. Kumakain ako means I am eating. Kumakain ako. But if you wanted to ask, am I eating? Like if you're asking yourself rhetorically, ba would go before it. Kumakain ba ako? Am I eating? Kumakain ba siya? Is he eating? Kumakain ba sila? Are they eating? Kumakain ba kayo? Are you all eating? Kumakain ba tayo? Are we eating? Kumakain ba kami? Are we eating exclusive? But take a look at this pronoun. Kumakain ka ba? Ka. When you are using the singular you, ka, ba goes after that. Kumakain ka ba? And that's the only pronoun in the subject pronouns when ba would go after it. And I haven't found a rhyme or reason why this happens. Why is it ka has to go before the ba? It's just one of those things that has been a pattern in the Tagalog language. So just take note of that. Again, if you mix it up, if you happen to say kumain ba ka, that's not correct, but someone will correct you, hopefully. So don't be scared of making the mistake. Just know that there are certain times when ba goes before or after. Now let's take a look at possessive pronouns. So bahay nila yan, that means that is their house. Bahay nila yan. But when you add ba, it turns it into a question. Bahay ba nila yan? Is that their house? Bahay ba nila yan? So it's going before. Next, bahay ba namin yan? Is that our house? Bahay ba namin yan? Or bahay ba natin yan? Our house inclusive, bahay ba natin yan? So those three examples, ba is going first. Now take a look at the last four examples. Ba is going after the pronoun. Bahay ninyo ba yan? Ninyo can be interchangeable. I've actually heard it bahay ba ninyo yan and bahay ba ninyo yan. So I've heard ba go before and after the pronoun for ninyo. Next, bahay mo ba yan? Bahay mo ba yan? Ba is going after the pronoun. Bahay ko ba yan? Bahay ko ba yan? And bahay niya ba yan? Bahay niya ba yan? Niya is another pronoun where I've heard both. Bahay ba niya yan? But mo and ko usually go before ba. So it's tricky. This slide is just to show you that it can be tricky when using ba and pronouns. I would say practice it. Also listen to native Tagalog speakers or listen to Tagalog movies and you will see where, or you will hear where ba naturally goes. Okay? Again, it's unclear why ba goes before or after some pronouns. And there's no rhyme or reason that I know of. If anyone knows of a reason, please let us all know because I'd love to know. Next, ba goes after the words na or pa if they appear in the question. So na means already, na means already, pa means still. For example, natulog na ba si ate? Did big sister go to sleep already? Natulog na ba si ate? Or gising pa ba si kuya? Is big brother still awake? Gising pa ba si kuya? There's pa and it means still. Is he still awake? Kumain na ba kayo? Have you eaten already? Kumain na ba kayo? Na is right there and that means already. And lastly, busog pa ba kayo? Are you all still full? Maybe you ate a lot. Busog pa ba kayo? What's interesting is that when you take out the word ba, then these are all just statements. Natulog na si ate. Ate is asleep already. Natulog na si ate. As soon as you add the word ba, it turns it into a question. Natulog na ba si ate? Did ate go to sleep already? Same with busog pa kayo. Busog pa kayo. You all are still full. You're full. You ate a lot. You're still full. Busog pa kayo. But as soon as you add ba, it turns it into a question. Busog pa ba kayo? Are you still full? Very interesting how this small word can make a big difference. So now here are just some other ba uses. Talaga ba means, is that so? Talaga ba? Talaga means really. And when you add ba, it means, oh, really? Is that so? Hindi ba? That means, is it not? So it's like, hey, these are not the right tickets. And you're like, hindi ba? It's not? And then oo ba means sure. Like, hey, do you want to come with me? Oo ba? Okay, sure. Oo ba? Now, you can add ba to any of the question words that we learned, and it kind of works as an emphasis. We already saw some of these. Ano ba means what the heck? Ano ba? Bakit ba means why with emphasis. Bakit ba? Sino ba? Like who with emphasis. Like if someone is like, hey, someone's knocking at the door, they're really knocking, they're knocking really hard, and you're like, sino ba? Who is it? And again, same with those other question words. Saan ba, ilan ba, kailan ba? It's just asking it more with an emphasis. Alrighty, last set of practice questions here. Let's practice ba, and here are the placements of ba. Remember, they go after a noun, adjective, or verb. They go before or after some pronouns, and then they go after na and ba if they appear in the question. Let's do the first one. Kumain ka ng almusal. We have to change the statement into a question by adding ba. So, kumain ka ng almusal means you ate breakfast. Where would ba go? Kumain is a verb, so it would probably go after that. Let's see. Kumain ka ba ng almusal. So it actually goes after ka because it is the pronoun, one of the pronouns that go before ba. Tricky, right? It's just one of those things that we'll have to memorize. So kumain ka ba ng almusal means you ate breakfast. Did you eat breakfast? Pause the video now and then we will do the rest in just a minute. Okay, welcome back. Number 2, nasa eskwelahan na ang mga bata. The kids are at school already. Nasa eskwelahan nasa eskwelahan na ang mga bata. The answer would be, nasa eskwelahan na ba ang mga bata? Nasa eskwelahan na ba ang mga bata? So there's the word na, ba would go after that. Next, galit si nanay, mother is mad. Galit ba si nanay? Galit is an adjective, so ba would just go after that. Rule number 1. Number 4, bahay yan ni Ate Mary. That is Ate Mary's house. Bahay yan ni Ate Mary. Where would ba go? It would go after the noun. Bahay ba yan ni Ate Mary? Is that Ate Mary's house? Number 5, aso mo yan. That is your dog. Aso mo yan. It would be aso mo ba yan? So tricky. You might have put ba after aso, but mo is one of those pronouns that has to go before ba. And just one of those things that we have to remember again. Number 6, pupunta dito si Luke bukas. Luke is coming here tomorrow. Pupunta dito si Luke bukas. Where would ba go? Pupunta ba dito si Luke bukas? So ba would just go after the verb. Okay. We did it. We learned all of the different Tagalog question words. There's a lot, isn't there? And there are lots of different ways to use them. But let's go ahead and review them. So ano means what? Ano. Bakit? Why? Bakit? Saan? Where? Saan? Kailan? When? Kailan? Sino? Who? Sino? Kanino? Whose? Kanino? Paano? How? Paano? Ilan? How many? Ilan? Alin? Which? Alin? Ba?